Art Deco and Art Nouveau in relation to eclecticism. SUTAN SJAHRIR. Art Deco versus Art Nouveau. This time I dedicate a whole video to architecture, visual and applied arts and designs regarding Art Deco and Art Nouveau. In advance, a rule of thumb to tell Art Deco and Art Nouveau apart. A simple rule of thumb to remember is that Art Nouveau is the more organic style and Art Deco is the more polished style. Both styles also originated in different centuries with different motives as a starting point. Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau is a style that was popular in various places in Europe and Southeast Asia between 1819 and 1913. This style is characterized by asymmetrical and organic compositions. The emergence of this art movement was due to several factors, including social, cultural, and technological changes, new materials through new techniques, a desire for innovation, and the industrial revolutions in the 18th and 19th centuries were the most important influences that gave rise to Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau draws inspiration from natural forms and focuses on lavish and intricate designs. The most immediately recognizable sign of the Art Nouveau style is the winding whiplash line or coup de fouette. Art Deco, on the other hand, focused more on stylized representations of natural forms, using geometry, vertical lines, and an absence of three-dimensional decoration. Art Deco draws inspiration from industrial machinery and focuses on simplified, geometric designs. While Art Nouveau emerged in 1819 and therefore symbolized the Belle Époque, Art Deco dates from 1919 and has therefore become synonymous with the interbellum or interwar period, the period between the First and Second World Wars. Art Deco. Originally, probably a typical American invention to spread global Americanism combined with capitalism and westernization, Art Deco is a movement that had a major influence between 1919 and 1939 during the interwar period on decorative and applied arts, on graphic, interior, architectural and industrial design, as well as on visual arts and fashion. Art Deco, which focuses on bold, luxurious elements, in contrast to Art Nouveau, makes a connection with modernism and postmodernism, respectively, at a later stage. However, modernism and postmodernism are in stark contrast to Art Deco, as the first and foremost values simplicity and functionality. Art Deco embraces geometric patterns and ornamentation, while modernism favors clean lines and minimalism. However, Art Deco and modernism seem to merge into one eclectic style, so-called eclecticism, which has been the dominant art movement in the independent Republic of Indonesia since 1949, or at least that process took place in the 1920s and 1930s, and especially after the Second World War in the former Dutch East Indies. Art Deco uses vibrant, bold colors, while modernism sticks to neutral patterns with natural materials. Art Deco is glamorous, sophisticated, and daring, while mid-century modernism and postmodernism is more streamlined, minimalist, and purely functional. Art Deco follows many of the same basic concepts, such as geometric shapes and high contrast, but embellished with intricate motifs inspired by technology rather than the natural world, as in Art Nouveau. Modernism and postmodernism. Development can be drawn between, on the one hand, Art Deco in combination with modernism and postmodernism in Indonesia, and, on the other hand, the change from the major development of this country with a high-quality capitalist society to communism, and therefore a distancing of the new Republic of Indonesia from the United States of America, or USA, and the West, and a rapprochement with the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR, the People's Republic of China, and the Comintern. Modernism as a precursor to postmodernism is a collective name for a group of ideas that were developed between roughly 1900 and 1940 by artists belonging to various avant-garde movements. In a general sense, modernism is characterized by a break with traditions. Following modernism, postmodernism emerged during the post-World War II period, the umbrella name for a cultural movement that concerns a series of philosophical positions and aesthetic styles in art since the 1950s. In combination with Art Deco, modernism, and successively postmodernism took hold in modern Indonesia and flourished, especially during the era of liberal democracy, and even gained the upper hand over Art Deco during the era of guided democracy from 1957 onwards. In the last years, during the term of Indonesia's first president, Ahmed Sukarno, both Art Deco and modernism, respectively postmodernism in Indonesia, showed very clearly an embrace of the propaganda demands that the new authoritarian and highly centralized change of course of the regime of Ahmed Sukarno made, and rejected individualism or strictly personal themes. Since the establishment of the guided democracy, the Sukarno government preferred specifically collectivism and only themes dedicated to the new authoritarian and centralized course that the Indonesian Republic now followed. With the exception of the ruling PNI or Partai Nasional Indonesia and the Maoist PKI or Partai Komunis Indonesia, with the support of the third power factor, the army, all political parties that existed during the era of liberal democracy were dissolved. The political course that Indonesia now followed, in conjunction with the global Cold War, undoubtedly also influenced philosophy, literature, architecture, and the visual and applied arts. Art Deco was initially a typical American invention and export product during the first half of the 20th century as a reaction to the fascist futurism from Italy, the constructivism from the early days of the Soviet Union, and the so-called Nieuwe Zakelijkheid. Art Deco was designed for the common man and symbolized a new social order, which, however, remained misunderstood. It was more decorative compared to Italian futurism, Russian constructivism, and the Nieuwe Zakelijkheid in the Netherlands, but nevertheless, it came to an eclectic symbiosis with modernism and postmodernism, and it flourished in the Dutch East Indies. Here Art Deco found a connection with Nieuwe Zakelijkheid, translated into English as New Objectivity or New Pragmatism, a style named after a Dutch period of modernist architecture that started in the 1920s and continued into the 1930s. During the post-World War II period, there was a great revival of Art Deco in combination with modernism and postmodernism during the early years of the new Republic of Indonesia in the 1950s and 1960s. This concludes my discussion of Art Deco in relation to modernism and postmodernism. In the next video, I will discuss the development of its counterpart, Art Nouveau, which also entered into an eclectic symbiosis with two art styles, resulting in a great flourishing from the Belle Epoque until well into the 1950s and 1960s in Indonesia as a competitor to Art Deco